Hi, I'm Phil Kern, City Administrator, City of Delano. I'm walking through today the work session agenda for the Delano City Council meeting next week, which will be held on Monday, February 24th. The City Council typically has a work session once a month on the last Tuesday of the month. However, this month in February, Tuesday will be Precinct Caucus Night in Minnesota, and as such, the City Council has moved their work session to Monday night. Work sessions are a method for the council, or a meeting style for the council, to work through agenda items which may ultimately end up on a city council regular meeting at some point down the road. But it's a first look at a series of issues that the city is dealing with or considering dealing with at some point in the future. At the work session, the council will have the opportunity to discuss potential policy changes, to discuss issues that may be facing the city, and staff will present research and background information on each topic. The council will discuss the topics and ultimately provide staff direction on whether to proceed with something, what additional information may be needed, or how to handle the item moving forward, and perhaps when it could appear on a regular meeting for council action. Monday's agenda has 5 items. The first agenda item that the council will discuss is the city's sanitary sewer service line policy. The city operates a sanitary sewer system throughout the community, which obviously meets the wastewater needs of a developed community such as ours. The city's sanitary sewer system services all types of properties in the community, from residential to commercial to industrial, schools, institutions. And the city operates a series of mains that typically reside underneath the street. Those mains provide service to all of the properties, and each property has its own individual connection that goes from a house or from a business, from a school building, church, whatever it may be. And that service line goes underneath the ground from the property and ties into the main underneath the street. The city's policy for decades is that the city is responsible for maintaining the main, which runs underneath the street and services all properties, and that individual property owners are responsible for their service line all the way up to the connection with the main. Very rarely does it happen, but occasionally it does happen where there's an issue with that service line from a property to the main, and property owners end up with that responsibility. Occasionally, those sanitary sewer service lines, those lateral lines serving the property, can fail, they can break, they can get plugged, different things may happen to them, which will end up in a rather costly repair for the property owner. When the city manages reconstruct streets, we look into each one of those sanitary sewer service lines. We work with property owners to try and get them repaired and replaced. Obviously, when the street is opened up and there's construction happening, it's much cheaper and easier for property owners to maintain and take care of those lines than it is when a street is operational, fully built out, and now there's a problem underneath the ground. So the City Council will talk about this policy. Won't be discussing any specific parcels with respect to the policy, but we'll be talking about how it applies across the city. The second agenda item is to discuss skating hockey facility. The city, along with its many park and recreation offerings, does provide skating facilities in 2 places currently. One by the Delano Ice Arena on the school campus, and the second facility down at Central Park. The Park and Recreation Commission over the last year or two, along with a working group of interested parties in the community, have been working on the idea of consolidating the 2 facilities the city manages into one skating hockey facility somewhere in the community. Over the course of the past year, the group has looked at a variety of sites around town and really centered in on using Central Park as a potential site for a future larger expanded skating facility. The park board has talked about it most recently at their January meeting, about the idea of having a covered hockey rink along with a open skating facility there with a warming house that might meet different community needs. Also working with the Youth Hockey Association, who would potentially be able to use the facility for youth hockey sports. And that concept will go to the council on Monday night, for further discussion. The third item on our agenda, the city, is the Crow River Villa operating structure. The city for the past 45 plus years has been staffing and operating the Crow River Villa, which is a public housing building located on 5th Street, just south of Franklin Avenue in town. That facility has 30 units. It is adjacent to another public housing facility, the Ridge Manor Apartments. Ridge Manor is a privately owned facility, but for the last 40 plus years, the Ridge Manor and the Villa have consolidated under one operational structure, whereas the city has an employee who manages both facilities. The Ridge Manor is now going a separate route for operations and management of its facility, and the city is now just managing the Crow River Villa. And so staff will share with the council some options going forward with how we potentially could operate that facility, either operating it similarly to what we do now or looking at an alternative management operation structure with HUD. The fourth item on our agenda is discuss sidewalk snow removal. We have sidewalks all throughout town. In pretty much every area of town, sidewalks provide a recreational and public safety amenity for the community. The city's current policy is that property owners are responsible for removing snow and ice from the sidewalks adjacent to their property. And throughout the course of the winter, people in the community, as you may know, it doesn't always happen that property owners take care of their responsibility. Let me back up here a bit. The city's done a few surveys this winter. Anywhere from 8 to 15% of properties in a snow event typically end up being a problem where snow is not removed. And users of the sidewalk either have to trudge through the snow or end up out in the street walking or however they may be trying to move about. And so we want to talk with the council. The Spirit of Community Commission has identified this as a challenge, that we need to maintain safety and access for residents, and we either need to be more proactive and more aggressive in our dealing with property owners who aren't removing snow or ice from the sidewalk, and or look at alternative means of handling snow and ice removal. So we will be talking about that with the council, along with the recommendation from the Spirit of Community Commission. Lastly, the Spirit of Community Commission has also been looking at ways in which to get community members more educated, more involved in all matters of the city. And one of those ideas that has percolated from the commission is the idea of having a Citizens Academy. The concept with the Citizen Academy would be about a 6-week intensive period of time in which the city would host workshops. Possibly, I think the proposal at this point is to do those workshops on a Thursday evening. Residents or community members would volunteer to participate in this service academy and would get, the Citizens Academy, and would get kind of a behind-the-scenes look at, an in-depth look at a whole variety of issues, service delivery mechanisms, policies of the city, and learn a little bit more about the inner workings of what goes on. Some examples of topics in a Citizens Academy might be understanding the city's finances, budgeting, fee structure, how do revenues and expenditures work for the city, understanding how park and recreation services, other community services are put together and procured, perhaps a look at public safety, a look at utilities, all the different workings of the city. And so the Spirit of Community Commission's recommendation is to go forward and offer a Citizens Academy this spring, April, early May, in which staff and the commission would frame a series of workshops and invite residents to come in and participate. So we'll share that information with the council. Nick Naton, our liaison to the Spirit of Community Commission, will be there, and we'll talk through the options with the city council and see if they want to proceed. These 5 items will be the bulk of the agenda, and will be all of the agenda. And again, that meeting will happen on Monday night. The meetings are open to the public. Residents and community members are encouraged to attend. Thank you.